meeting that we're having for a couple of agenda items that we need to take care of is Friday, April 17th. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Mr. Pollard?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Key?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
All right, we're going to move right into the agenda items. Mr. Administrator?
I'm calling the city attorney just so that we have him online just in
Okay.
case.
Got it. I'm going to just turn this over to you.
Yes, sir, Mayor. And again, I appreciate everything that everybody has done here at Mexico Beach in the last 18 months, and this little spreadsheet represents a lot of the work that has been done over the last 18 months. If you look at the first column, it shows the vendor that has been doing the work. If you look at the second column, it's the project number that we are tracking through FEMA. The third column is what has been paid to date. And if you look all the way at the bottom, the city of Mexico Beach, with the help from FEMA, the state, and other agencies, has been able to pay $41 million worth of repairs for Mexico Beach. Along those lines, we still owe approximately $22 million. And if you see the items in red, those are the monies that are owed to the vendors that are all the way to the left. The biggest ticket item that you see there is almost $12 million that's owed to Crowder Gulf. We are working through that process. That is mainly the dredge on the east, on the west end of the city. And this project is being reviewed by the state. It's being reviewed by FEMA. It was reviewed by the Corps of Engineers, and we're just working through that process. Some monies have been paid to Crowder Gulf, as have others within here. What we're looking at today, and hope for the council to understand, is we received $1,169,000 for the management side of these projects, which is typically what Atkins gets paid for. And if you look at that red item, they're owed $700,000. Now, I have communicated with Atkins that we would like to take some of those funds and spread it out to the other contracts that have not been funded as of today, in order to keep us all rolling. There's a dune that was completely built, there's walkways that have been built. Those contracts have not yet been funded, and we're looking to fund those with the funds that we've received from other funded areas. So what this is a tracking method to show that when we receive that 1.169 that we're paying a little bit to North Florida, a little bit to RPM, and so on, as shown on here. So if you look at the next item that shows the payment of 1.459, those are the funds that have been received, and then on the furthest right-hand side is the $20 million that continues to be owed. In a conference call yesterday with FEMA and the state, we should be receiving another $1.6 million for the emergency dunes. And if you look here under the emergency dunes, you can see that all that is owed to them right now is $245,000. So when we receive that 1.6, all that we will owe them is $122,000, and then we'll use the balance of those funds to reimburse where we have borrowed money from other funds. If that isn't confusing, you'll understand why I'm here, trying to show that all the monies are being used for FEMA projects, just as they are required to be used for. But there is some money that when we get it, if we have extra funds, we're utilizing it for others in hopes of getting reimbursed for the other in the near term, so that we can refund that person and cover it. It is very complex. I appreciate your understanding, and this is how it has been going, for the last 18 months. Is some funds have been spread around in order to keep the projects going. The bridge is built, and we are still waiting on the funds for the bridge, but this will get the bridge 90% paid for at this point in time.
Let me comment. The $41 million that's been paid to date, we have never had these types of meetings, because previous administrator and myself, it was pretty clear cut. The money that we received, where it was to go. It was, I guess it was sort of like a no-brainer, you would say. But as we move forward, in order to avoid borrowing money, which to my knowledge is the only city to date that I'm aware of in Bay County that has not borrowed money to pay their bills. I think all of you know my position, and I've made it very clear. And I felt like as we move forward in this little small town, people that we owe money to, they're going to know Jerry, and they're going to know Daryl, and they're going to know Bobby, and they're going to say, hey, I need some help. So I thought, I asked Mario to bring this to the council for our decision on how the monies are going to start getting distributed, instead of you being able to say, hey, I don't know anything about that. At least, and it doesn't mean you'll know the nuts and bolts of it, but at least you will know what monies we have received and how they were distributed. Nothing was done with this $41 million except pay bills. That's all that was done. But we're starting to get to the point now that we're going to have to, as Marlo said it best, we're going to have to make some decisions about who we pay, how much we pay, in order to get that money turned around so we can then pay some more, because that's the way the state's going to require us to do. They're not going to give us a pot of money to work from. We're going to have to show that we paid some people.
And to give you one little explanation on one of those pieces, there are some projects that once we pay and we show that receipt to the state then gives us money to replace that fund, which then allows you to make a second payment. So that there is this revolving component to this process that is not simple. There's nothing simple about this process at all. There are a ton of eyes that are going through to make sure that we're doing things the right way, and the city's doing the best that it can. And as a matter of fact, right now we're advertising for an auditing group to make sure that we are tracking things the proper way, because everything is out in the sunshine with everything that we do.
If you would clarify what it is that you're seeking, or your recommendation for this meeting on distribution funds.
What I'm recommending is it's the line that says payment, which is for $347,000 for Atkins, $225,000 for Crowder Golf, $112,000 for North Florida Construction, $633,000 for RBM, and $129,000 for Waste Pro.
123 for North Florida, right?
Yes.
Those are the Dune people, for those, you probably know that.
Correct.
Those are the sand dune folks.
Okay. And again, the balance of that money for them will be $122,000. And when I receive this next 1.6, it will allow me to make that final payment. But again, since for all intents and purposes, the dunes have been paid for through the monies that came in for most likely the debris. Again, those things happened just before me, and we've made some payments to KK Storm through monies that came in for the dunes. So it's an interesting process. Is kind of the only way that I
Yeah, a good example, that 2.46 million that's under North Florida, under paid to date.
Mm-hmm.
See, that money hadn't been received.
Correct.
That 2.46 million is money we will get for that project, but we've had to borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Correct.
And that's just a classic example of, we took that 2.46 out
Most
of
likely
another
KK
pot of money but that's the only way, I mean, the state's got us in a, I mean, they make the rules. But that's a great example of what he's talking about, of how we have tried to keep people working. We didn't want to walk away. The bridge is another. Where's the Danville Bridge? It's built, it's over. That project's over.
And we have yet to receive any funds for the bridge through the FEMA and state process.
One of the things to me that would make it clearer is to know that how much of that is still being reviewed, you know? So if maybe we could get a column where it says, this is what's been approved and this is what's still under review, because, you know, no matter which vendor it is, if they come to us and say, we're waiting for our money, then we can honestly say, it's still under review. So when it's reviewed and released, that's when they release the funds. Can we do something with that?
I don't know, that sounds simple, but there's more to that than you, I don't know how accurate we can be with that. I hate to say that. Mario, you can digest that, but I don't know.
I have a multitude of spreadsheets that are in my office. I didn't bring one of them, and it's the ones that's tracking for monies that have yet to be sent. I have a list that shows all the projects that are obligated, which is here, which means that it's made it through a bunch of steps within FEMA. Once it's obligated is when it makes it to the state, and then the state has its whole process. To give you an idea, within the red column here, of the $12 million that's here, it has yet to be approved by FEMA, let alone started the review by the state. Of the $7 million that you see for KK Storm, some of that money has been approved by FEMA, but only 60% has been reviewed by the state. So a lot of these are in a process. The $1.6 million that I'm supposed to receive in the next couple of days is on this spreadsheet that is basically, here it is, it's the emergency burn, and it is currently, yesterday it was in step 3, today it's in step 4, which is why it will hit our bank account when it hits step 9, but once it hits step 6, it's just going from one desk, getting a stamp, next desk, getting a stamp, which is why they can comfortably say that we're only a week or so out from getting that payment. So all of this stuff is so fluid. Really and truly tracking it, you almost have to ask me the specific question on one item, and then I can go do a little bit of research with Adkins, who's our consultant. I would be talking to Thomas on where we are on the construction progress, and some of these are reimbursements, some of these are paying up front. A majority of the remaining projects, when you look at this spreadsheet, you'll notice the blue highlight. On the blue highlight, it means that it's a 428 project, which means we're supposed to receive money before we start construction. The beauty of that is it allows us to start construction and be able to make payments
And be current.
And then as we make those payments, they give us the money that covers that and covers that and covers that. So as you track, each payment keeps you at 50%, and it keeps it going. So by the time you hit 50%, we then have 100% of the money. So the process flows much better. The city, very early on, went after almost all of its projects as 428s. Again, that bridge project we went after as a 428 with the hopes of getting the money up front. We did not get the money up front, which is why we have been borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
But we thought we were.
Yes, sir.
We thought we were. But we changed saddles in the middle of the race.
Right.
And we end up with a bridge, and we didn't get money.
Right.
We had committed to it.
Right.
So you got any more questions?
Well, you know, my point was
I
that
understand.
for clarification, so that those folks know that this not just us having money and, you know, not releasing it or doing something other than things. You know, and I know it's a difficult situation to explain.
It's just hard to put that on, you know.
Right.
These are these are monies we receive that we can look at and say, okay, but I think you, like Marl said, I think it'd be better if you get where you need to know about a specific project. I think that's the best way, is just say, hey, can you help me with,
Yeah,
understand what North Florida construction, what's going on with it?
yeah.
I tell you, it's pretty amazing that we've been able to pay $41 million.
It's true, when you see it on paper, I agree with you,
It is.
I agree with you.
Y'all done good.
There's been a lot of energy and effort behind that 41 million from a lot of people. And we keep telling the state we're not gonna borrow any money. And we're gonna send them down here to tell these people that we owe this money to. We're gonna give them their phone number, but that's in jest, but, Dina, Alyssa, the Atkins group, that, I mean, it has certainly been, but we're getting to that point now. And this is sort of the same topic, but we're trying to decide what projects now do we let out for bid? Because I can tell you, Mario doesn't want to add to his list of potential phone calls about how am I gonna get paid. So, things, as you'll notice, things are starting to slow down in project-wise because we can't get the obligation from the state that the money's gonna be there. So we're hesitant. The marina project is what, next week?
Correct, I mean, the marina project, we bid that 3-4 months ago. We received that bid, and we're currently still holding that bid. And typically, when you get a bid, you have 90 days to pull the trigger on it. We told them, we are gonna pull the trigger, but we're gonna exercise our full 90 days. The hope is that we can see that the funding is within sight. Right now, I cannot tell you that I can see the funding for that marina within sight. My conversation that'll happen in the next week or so is, we'll probably be calling that contractor and saying, can you hold your price for another 45 days, or are you willing to go out at risk? I want them involved with this next decision.
Well, I think
We've got
that's
that
wise.
project. We're just about done with the Welcome Center drawings. We'll put that out to bid. Now keep in mind, we went at risk with the architectural services, which is $36,000. We can make those kinds of payments, but before we kick off construction for about $300 and something thousand, I want to make sure that that fund is coming through. And we are actually pretty close on that 428 project for the Welcome Center. And the Welcome Center is one of those hybrids because we actually have insurance money that's come in, and we also have FEMA money that's coming in. So on that project, even if we didn't get the 428 pushed through, we still have 100 and something thousand that we can make the first couple of initial payments. So none of this is cut and dry on how it works. Each one of them is if this, then that, and if this, then this something else. So,
But it does slow our recovery down. You can see how that domino comes back to, well, just like the marina, that's what, $2.2 million. We're hesitant to sign that contract because we don't, Marvin doesn't want that guy to be calling him saying, hey, how am I gonna get paid?
on a good note, the beach walkovers, we now have the funding for the beach walkovers, so we have released them for the second phase. The initial phase was like 6 dune walkovers. This next phase is 9 dune walkovers. So in the next week or so, you should start to see workforce hitting our beach and building dune walkovers. And we will not be hauling their cars off because they're parked on the side of the road. They're there for construction.
And we've already got those funds.
Yes, sir.
That got approved.
Well, in the same line of thought, what about Sunset Park?
Sunset Park again is, I've got 12 skillets on the stove right now, and it is one of the ones that we're gonna get back up and running. We have some funds there to kick off the design. Dina was creative and looked at LiDAR, which is something, it's basically somebody hovers around and shoots the ground and can tell you what the elevations are, and we've determined how much sand we need on that site, so I'm gonna get our crews in the street department to start hauling sand that we would not use on the white sandy beach, but is still close enough to compatible with the white sandy beach, to start taking from our dredge location and putting on that site so we can bring that elevation up. And I'm thinking that within that 50,000, we should be able to get a design for the 2 or 3 structures that are there, which is a shade structure and a bathroom, and then get enough of a landscape drawing where we can start getting those things going. And then we also have FDOT funds that we're drawing into that. So again, it's another project it's starting off, and it is also a project that we're looking for funds for. I think for the total of the parks, I'm working strictly off memory here, I think it's like $1.6 million that we're looking for all 7 of our parks. So lots going on, and we're kicking off things as we get the funds now, as opposed to jumping out in front.
I asked in my email this morning, you probably didn't see it because I sent it about an hour ago to you and Dan,
Yes.
to try to move that skillet closer to the fire. Because we do have monies that have been donated for that.
So the grant,
And we don't need to build something, we just need,
We don't need a $750 million house.
there you go. That's, I mean, it's really that simple. We need to live within our means, put something there that's, make it landscape nice, and, I mean, what we had there was fine.
yeah, totally agree.
We don't need to, I mean, some of those drawings, they look beautiful, but,
No, we don't need that.
so I hope we can get that going, and back on when he mentioned the dune walkovers, the other 9 or 7. That after that is when the landscaping on 98 takes place.
And do we know, have we talked to the state to find out how quick they're gonna come after that, or who knows what's?
Here's what we know. We know that we have $475,000 grant from DOT to do landscaping. It is in their next year's budget,
Okay,
which is October 1st. By the time we do the dune walkovers,
we're getting pretty close.
it'll work, you know, I mean, but this calendar year, I would hope that they can get that done.
So now, have we already decided how we're gonna use that money? Are they gonna do it?
They're gonna do it.
They're gonna do it, so they've already got their designs and
Well, no, we have to show them
what we want?
and approve, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they give us flexibility in saying, all I know is we sure want the palm trees.
Right,
Because I'm not gonna live here if we don't put them back.
right.
And none of y'all are either.
Well, most of those palm trees were dedicated by some citizen that died or whatever, and it would
They
be,
were donated in honor of.
right, and it would be remiss on our part not to honor that.
And that's, they made it clear when they took them out, that they understood,
Okay,
meaning DOT.
yes, good.
Now, we did have some of the plaques, some of them got lost. I assume we put those plaques back on and maybe put the ones that got lost back on trees, or
Do we know who they
I don't know if that was kept up with after the storm or not, but I think that might be something that may prove to be a mountain too high to climb as far as getting it right. I don't know.
why couldn't we do, unless we have some plaques, we could do a simple plaque that says, all of these palm trees were dedicated by someone at some point that were citizens of Mexico Beach. You could just put a plaque in the center.
I think DOT will let us do whatever.
Yeah.
If we wanted to replaque them,
Yeah.
I don't, some of their designs are showing cluster of trees and not just, that doesn't mean we have to accept it, it just means the landscaping plans might look a little different than what we saw
Prior.
prior. Yeah. But we'll get a chance to approve that.
Okay.
So, moving on, Mario, is there,
I don't particularly, I don't think I need a vote in any way, shape, fashion, form, there's no resolution
Okay.
tied to this. I just wanna make sure that in abundance of openness, that everybody knows where we are and how we're working through the process. So if y'all are okay with this, I will move forward with getting these checks run and making these payments, and the next tranche of money, I'll hope to do the same thing for the next tranche of money.
You're doing good, do it.
Thank you, sir.
everybody good?
I'm good.
All right. Next on the agenda is resolution 20-08. Mario, you need to
Yes, sir.
explain this. I'm sure it's clear as mud.
It is clear as mud, most definitely. Basically, what this resolution is doing is it's memorializing what the city has been working on since 1970. Cities follow rules that are set by the state, and if the cities follow the rules according to all the state regulations, it gets them points within insurance programs and just ways of getting flood insurance, because again, at the end of the day, flood insurance is a state-funded process. If you look at the second portion of this, it vests the city in the floodplain administrator by taking these 7 steps. Adopting and maintaining a flood damage prevention ordinance, conducting annual inspections, administering flood zone permitting applications, ensuring accuracy of completion of all elevation certificates, annually disseminating letters, administrating substantial improvements and damage determination. Again, all of those things are things that the city has already been doing. This resolution memorializes it and sends it to the state so that the state can acknowledge that we do these things. And what it does is it reduces our flood insurance as a whole. According to DENA, the city has been working on this since 2016. And when they started the process, they were remiss with a couple of stormwater structures here and there. Those repairs have been made. This could have probably been adopted 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago, and it just hadn't been done. The fact that we had this meeting today, we just got a reminder from NFIP, just brought it to the forefront. We had the ability to read this today. It's fairly simple. We're already doing this. Once we memorialize this, we'll get it back to the state and we'll be part of the program.
Chair will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 20-08.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-08.
Second.
Second. Then I guess we should read it
Yes, sir.
by title only.
Yes, sir. A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, to implement performance measures for compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program.
Lindsay, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Okay. Thank everyone for coming. Motion adjourned.
So moved.